Hi, my name is Lisa Jacobson, and I am on the board of the American Migraine Foundation, and I am the founder of the Daily Migraine. We're here today to talk about, I said, not just me, to talk about your child in migraine or my child in migraine. If your child has migraine, what do you do? It's really hard to watch your child suffer. It's bad enough if you have migraine on your own, but watch your child suffer and not to know what to do is really painful for a parent. So I'm here today um, this is not a monologue, it's a dialogue, even though you can't speak. Please write me comments. I will just respond to your comments. I see them right on the side. I'm going to do some talking to get this started until people start logging on. And then hopefully we can go back and forth and I can actually give you some take-home value so that your child feels better. Okay? So let's start with, let me just give a quick disclaimer that anything you hear on here, you must run by a doctor, right? I'm definitely not a doctor. I'm just a person with migraine. I've had over 9,000 migraines in my life. So I'm an expert on my own migraine disease. And because I started the Daily Migraine, I've had thousands of people sort of crowdsource ideas and solutions. So yes, I know a lot about it, but I am not a doctor. Okay, so let's get started. Does your child have migraine is the first thing. Maybe you're not sure. Well, let's talk about the difference between migraine in an adult and in a child. Okay, those of you who have migraine know that it's often on one side of your head or the other. Not always, but usually. But with kids, it can present in all sorts of different ways. First of all, a lot of times they just have it on the front, all the way across. Um, Secondly, and I find this really fascinating because this is exactly what happened to my child. When she was little, she's now an adult child, but when she was little, she would always get nauseous at, like, if they had parties with lights and a band and sound, school parties or weddings or wherever she went, and she would throw up. She would come home sick, and I never put it together because that's the next thing I want to say, that kids can often can't articulate it depending on what age they are. When we're talking about kids today, this could be from, you know, baby all the way to adult. Let's not say adult children. Let's say children in college. Okay. Because there's sort of still we're still maybe managing them at that point or to some degree before they go out on their own. So anyway, um, my daughter had this thing all the time, and so we thought it was a stomach issue. And I took her to all different doctors, and they said, she's probably just nervous. You know how it goes. All sorts of things that were not the problem. And one day, she was still really sick, and I took her to like a GI doctor. And as I was leaving, I said, "Would you mind, doctor, if I left some cards from the Daily Migraine for your patients who have migraine?" And the doctor said, "Whoa, come back in here, you guys." And we came back in, and the doctor said, "That's a piece of information that I needed to know. I think your daughter has abdominal migraine." And I said, "What the heck is that?" That's often, it's migraine, but it's not in your head. I know it's hard to even understand. And again, I'm not a doctor. Anything you want to look up, you can find at the American Migraine Foundation.org, AmericanMigraineFoundation.org. They're like a Library of Congress for migraine. So go on there, type in the search box abdominal migraine, and you will see. Eventually, it turned into regular migraine when she got older, and that's often what happens. So does your child have migraine? You might not even come on here to listen. You might not have even thought your child had migraine, right? Now, let's go even younger to babies. Okay, let's say you have a colicky baby and you're a person with migraine. Your baby is screaming, crying, and you're a new parent. It's giving you a migraine. Well, some recent studies that have been done have shown that some babies who we think are colicky are really having migraine disease, right? Think about it. I probably had migraine since I was a baby, and nobody would know it. I can't speak, I can't report it, I can't narrate it. All I can do as a baby is scream at the top of my lungs. So that I find really fascinating. So I'm going to put my glasses on so I can really, really see your comments here. Hi, Shayna. Also, tell me where you guys are, where you're from. You've had abdominal migraine as well. Well, you're lucky that you were able to find out what it was, because many people never do. Okay, so how do you find out if your child has migraine? Many years ago, first of all, there were no such thing as headache doctors. And there certainly wasn't, even in my mind, like 10 years ago, there weren't even doctors who were pediatric headache doctors. You might have to take your child, if you even knew to go to a headache doctor or a headache clinic. Most of them would not see children. I know, because I asked mine if they would see my daughter, and they wouldn't. Now, the great news is that there are actually people who specialize in pediatric migraine. You can also go to a regular headache doctor. So let's talk about the different kind of docs that anyone, you or your child, would go to with migraine disease. And it depends where you live, what country, and where. Okay, I realize there are certain countries that have very poor healthcare systems. The most they're going to offer you is ice if they do believe that you have migraine. But in the US and in some other countries around the world, there is a specialty called headache. And to boot, there are headache clinics. So you can go on the American Migraine Foundation website, or you can type into Google, put where you live, headache center, and see if there's one near you. If there is, and if you can afford it or you have health insurance, that would be the best situation, right? Because all those people do is headache, every kind of headache, every type of trigger, hopefully every age of person. And so those people, if that's all you do, then you know it really well. All right, so that's the best. The second best, I think, this is my own opinion, would be a neurologist, right? Because headache is one of the many things that they do. If you can't see a neurologist, many, many people see a family doctor, and they do way more things, but they see headaches on a day-to-day basis, so they may be able to help. So those are the different ways. But if you're near any kind of headache clinic, or nowadays you can do telehealth. I mean, that's the ideal situation. So a doctor will be able to identify whether your child has migraine or something else, right? There are many other things it could be. So the first thing is you want the right diagnosis. Okay, the second thing, as a parent of a child with migraine and as a person with migraine, I would like to get rid of those migraines for my child, right? So what should your expectations be? Because when you see your child suffering day after day, or here and there, or unable to go to school, or going to school and the nurse calls you, it hurts. It hurts your soul, right, as a parent. So I personally, this is my own advice, I'd love to hear what you guys say. I believe that you need to set your expectations and give yourself and your child a way to succeed. Instead of saying, I got to get rid of these now for my child. That may not be possible. It takes a little while, and it's hard, again, to see your child suffer. But I'm telling you that I think you will save a lot of time and heartache if you have small, digestible goals and incremental improvement to get to the point where your child feels functional. Okay? So the first thing is to get a diagnosis. Okay? That may take a few weeks to get an appointment with a doctor. Once you have a diagnosis, then the next thing is, well, what do you do? Okay, well, while you're waiting for the diagnosis, you have to educate yourself. Okay, if you're someone with migraine, you have your own experience already. So, I felt sad that my daughter had migraine, but who better than to be the person helping her navigate this condition, right? And if you don't, you have a lot to learn, because this is an invisible illness that people don't take seriously. If your child's a boy, It's even harder because only 10% of people with migraine are boys. And so they're told, like, man up, buck up, what's wrong with you? It's, quote, just a headache. We've all heard this, right? So your job is to get educated. You go to the American Migraine Foundation.org or anywhere you want to go, and you start learning about this. It's a condition. It's an invisible illness like many other conditions, right? Like irritable bowel and Sjogren's disease and, you know, Crohn's and all these different things that people can't see. And I want to save you a lot of years if I can here, because as I said at the beginning, I've had over 9,000 migraines myself. Rather than get mad at everyone and frustrated with everyone else, I really think it's useful to start from a point of saying, none of us know what everybody else is going through, right? In this world, we don't know what their journeys are, what their pain is. So it's our job to teach them, to tell them, and to advocate for our child. All right, so that's where I would suggest that you start. Because you're in pain and you're upset about your child, it's easy to just thrash about. But it maybe people at the school don't understand migraine disease, migraine. Maybe the school nurse doesn't. Maybe the teachers don't. Not maybe, I'm certain. You know how many people don't know what migraine is. So your job for your child is to get educated, one, to get a diagnosis, and then what's next? All right, let's talk about, let me see if there's anything else I want to tell you. Become an expert. Yeah, no, I've told you everything. Oh, let's talk about guilt before we go. Somehow we often have a lot of guilt as parents because we don't want our kids to suffer, and sometimes we think it's our fault, especially if we have migraine. Well, I'm here to tell you that I've come to the point where I believe somebody gave it to me, right? I think maybe it was my grandmother. Well, my grandmother also gave me a lot of things. She was the only one who wanted to escape the country that my family lived in, and she left the day before. My whole family would have been killed. Okay, am I going to be mad at her about giving me migraine when she did that? Or maybe she gave me my, anything else that I like about myself, okay? You get good, you get bad through genetics. That's just how it works, okay? So it's not your fault, just like it's not the fault of the person who gave it to you, and it's not the fault of the person who gave it to them, and it won't be the fault of any of your descendants, who get it. So you got to get that out of your head. There's no beating yourself up. There's stopping right now, taking responsibility, getting educated, and getting ready to advocate for your child. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Alicia, nice to meet you. Marina, your son's complaining of headaches after he cries or doesn't eat regularly. You live with chronic daily migraine. Okay, here's the other thing. Our young kids are not good reporters for migraine because often they can't speak, or if they're babies, or if they can speak, maybe, they can only tell you little things that you can't put together. So you have to watch. If you see, Marina, your son going into a dark room, often, and again, you have to speak to a doctor about these things and get a diagnosis. Sound, light, and motion are big issues when all of us who have migraine, right? So if you see him feeling car sick, you see him going into a dark room to play, and he's not complaining, right? You see him holding his ears or saying things are loud. That's really important information for you. So you have to watch more when your kids are little. As they become teenagers, they're much more able to articulate. Alicia, any thoughts for FDA-approved migraine devices for a 14-year-old? Yeah, I have lots of ideas, so hang on. We're going to talk about that later. I'm first going to talk about migraine at school, and then I'm going to talk about my migraine at home. Hi, Shayna. Nice to meet you from Belgium. My family's from Belgium, too. Okay. Guys, write me anything you want. Let me just quickly, for those of you who just joined, I'm Lisa Jacobson. I'm on the board of the American Migraine Foundation. I was the founder of the Daily Migraine, and I'm really here to facilitate a discussion so that you don't feel alone. Um, I'm not a doctor, so everything must be checked out with a doctor, but I'm a pretty educated patient. I've had over 9,000 migraines, and I'm a mom of a child who has migraine. And I'm here to answer your questions. I'm here to give you hopefully some thoughts, some jumping off points. But now we're at the point to talk about advocating for your child. Okay, you've got a diagnosis, and you also have educated yourself to the nth degree. You've gone to the American Migraine Foundation website, and you have learned a ton. Okay, well, I have another resource for you, which is called migraineatschool.org. Okay, I think it's a really also excellent focused website that you can work through just like you can on the American Migraine Foundation and look at every little detail of ways to help your child at school, your child who has migraine. I'm going to say like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago when I started the Daily Migraine, there was nothing for kids, like literally almost nothing. So the fact that there's so much that exists that we're even having this conversation is really important and should make you feel better. There are a ton of resources and I'm going to point you to them, okay? Okay, so next, your child's school, okay? Your child's school needs to work around your child, not the opposite, okay? Is migraine a disability? Well, American Migraine Foundation, I'd love you to post and say what you think. But it's very interesting whether it's a full-fledged disability or a condition or an illness, whatever it is, your child is being impacted by it. And the most important thing is that your child is able to go to school and learn. Okay, that's the objective. That's the objective. So one of the things to do is to try to get your child a 504 plan. Now you can Google that. You can look American Migraine Foundation. Again, it is, I'm looking for the exact language. I took some notes for myself. It's making changes to the environment, not to the instruction. Okay, I thought that was such a brilliant way to say it. So in other words, the instruction is the instruction. The teacher stands up and the teacher, teaches, okay? But how can that school change the environment for your child so that your child can learn like any other child who does not have migraine? And they will do this for kids who have anything, if you can get a 504 that is in the way of them being able to learn. Okay, not just your standard learning difference, we'll call it learning difference, not learning disability, but not just your standard things that you've heard of, attention deficit, sensory issues. There are all sorts of things, anxiety, Crohn's. There are many, many things that kids have that the school must, if you have a 504 plan, work around. Okay? So if you can get a 504, they can do all sorts of things for your child. Your child can take a test in a darkened room. Maybe your child can skip gym because often people who have migraine cannot exercise. It makes it worse. They can, so light, sound, if there's a situation where the sound is loud and your child has a migraine, they need to understand that they need to move your child out of there. The gyms with the bright light and the loud and the whistles. I know for me, that is not just a trigger, but that will make me crazy, right? Maybe your child can get extended time. Maybe your child can get, if she's having a migraine, maybe you need a scribe. I mean, there are all sorts of things, but you have to get this 504 plan. And once you go online, I went on YouTube right before this to be sure I understood everything about a 504. There's great stuff out there. Okay, so that's the first thing, to set up the school so it works for your child, not to change your child so it works for the school. A migraine or a person with migraine it's a condition. Okay, it's not a headache. And everyone's going to think it is unless you're in there advocating for your child. Okay? And then as your child gets older, most kids begin to understand. I work with a lot of kids who have all sorts of issues. Um, and I work with a lot of teenagers. So as they get older, they learn to advocate for themselves. And that's one of the things you want to teach them. At first, it's hard. No kid wants to be different. Okay? But your kid needs to learn. So my Monique, nice to meet you. My child has a 504 plan for his migraines, and it's been a great help. Fantastic. So I hope anybody on here tries to do that. It's so helpful. Okay. Okay, making sure extra time for tests, skipping PE, we talked about that. Okay, so educating people is really important, and that includes just one person after another at school. All right, let's talk about at home. It's the same thing. Your child has a play date, okay? And the other parent would never, who's hosting it might never understand what is going on with your child. Your child's acting odd. Your child's holding his head. Your child is holding his stomach, or you want to say to the other parent, if you could just turn down the light a little while all the kids are playing and not make a big deal about it, I would really appreciate it. I can't even, there's so many things that this topic covers, but I want to just give you a general, I just want to throw stuff at you, okay? So when you're home with your child, and maybe you have other kids who don't have migraine, right? What do you do? It's easier because you can regulate your environment more than you can with school. And we're going to talk about school more as you ask me more questions. Just keep asking me questions because I see your questions. Anyway, so what can you do at home? Okay, you've got the diagnosis. You're pretty much of an expert about migraine in children. You are still reading more about it. You're doing everything you can. You're sort of at wit's end because you might have other kids. You might have a job. You have this child. Your other children have their own things. And you're at wit's end, let's just say, okay? This is when your kids are younger. So what can you do? And you feel horrible seeing your child, in pain. We all do, all right? So I'm going to show you something I've done in some of these other talks. I have a giant box. This is my migraine box. This is my magic migraine box. I just thought of that. There are little hacks that you can do to not fix your kids' migraines, but maybe take the edge off. And for those of us with migraine, we know that if we have a migraine that's an 8, and we can bring it down to a 6 out of a 10, let's say, 10 worse, 1 is no migraine, that makes a huge difference because that makes us functional. Or if your child has a migraine that's a 7, and if they're younger, I'm not sure how you would know that. You probably get used to their body language and what they're saying. Older kids can just tell you. To take it down 2 notches, this is my own anecdotal thing, is huge. Maybe your child could get some homework done, okay? So even though it hurts. So I have all these little things that I've collected over the years because I have had 9,000 migraines of my own. Maybe one of these things will work for you, maybe they won't. Some of them work for me, some of them don't, but it doesn't matter what works for me. It's what works for your child. And maybe you'll end up having 3 or 4 of these things in your own magic migraine box. And it'll help you. You're cooking dinner, you have 3 kids, and the child with migraine is in a dark room playing, okay? So here's a bunch of things. These are migraine patches, Be Cool and Well Patch. And by the way, I'm not hawking anything whatsoever. These are just things in my box that I've collected and bought on my own from Amazon or whatever. So they're patches. I think you can see this little picture of this woman. Be Cool and Well Patch. All right, so what they do is you peel off the back. You know those hot things you can put on your stomach or your back when they hurt, or your shoulder? It's just cold. And so if your child can walk around with this disposable thing, maybe it'll give you a break and give your child a little break. All right. I am not going to talk about drugs, migraine drugs, but I do want to say that this is the golden age of migraine. because I've had them for 36 or so years. There are finally medications that have been created for people with migraine that are preventatives. There's a certain, whether it's 4 days a month if your child has migraine or more than that. I don't know the number, I'm not a doctor. They may be a candidate for preventative medication. Now, I'm not here to say to give your child medication or not, but I will tell you my experience, which is that I think that when you see your child suffer, there might be something you can do to fix it. You know, if they had a physical manifestation of something like a fever, you might give them medication, and that's different, right? Because that's a one-off. But there may be things you're giving the medication for. Nothing has to be permanent. It can be temporary. But again, that is me, you know, and I wouldn't do it lightly because there are all sorts of other things I'm going to show you, but you need to know that it's potentially useful thing. I love those Be Cool patches. Thank you for saying that. I'm glad you do. Okay, I take these with me everywhere I go. They're instant cold packs. I have them in my car. I have them in my suitcase. So if you guys are going somewhere and your child is in your car and gets a migraine, you take this, you slam it, you put thing on it, you put ice on their head. Most people feel better with ice. Not all, okay? So that leads me to something else. I always have a migraine bag in my glove box, in my car, in anywhere I would have it, anywhere I would be with my child, okay? And what would go in that box? I mean, in that bag. What do you guys think? Post what you think should go in. Probably a lot of these things here. I have this in my bag. I also have this in my migraine bag because being dehydrated often sets off a migraine. Now, you may not know what's causing the migraine in your child, and many of us who do have migraine really often don't know. Sometimes we have 3 different things causing it, sometimes 5 things, sometimes nothing. People are lucky if they can find the one thing that causes their migraine, but many people can't. But we do know that if your child's dehydrated, that might set one off, or that might make it worse. So have water always in your car. How about this? You know, Bengay, icy hot. I've used this many times. You got to be careful about your child's eyes. Here, 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 on my neck, you know, and a lot of kids have it on their forehead. You know, some kids have the abdominal migraine. I don't know if this would help them, but why not have it in your arsenal? Okay. Okay. Who else? Shayna, water, food, and ice. Yes, I agree. Okay. This may seem silly, but probably not to a mom or dad. I found this a couple days ago. It's rose water spray. I happen to love rose. Peppermint is a great one. And so when I feel a migraine coming on and I'm not where I am, or I have a mild one, I'm going to go like this. Does it get rid of my migraine? No, of course not. But for a second, it makes me feel better. And if I'm running around, I will do anything I can to feel better while I'm moving. Yes, sunglasses. That is huge. I put them back in my car. They're usually in this box. So sunglasses are huge, and I'm going to strongly suggest polarized sunglasses for your kids. What happens if there's glare, which is often a trigger? It's one of my triggers. And in the winter, if you live in a place where there's snow and the snow is really bad, it's really important because it takes down that extreme glare when the sun's coming in, you know, and that sort of thing. So sunglasses are critical. What else? Shayna, come on, you're doing a really good job. Throw me some more ideas. Okay, this is Stop Pain Migraine. It's like a, I don't know, like a gel, okay? That's also, so all these things that are cold. Now, I'm going to give you another hack. This is completely nature, but many of us feel better with ice. However, people have suggested to me, and I tried it and I loved it, to go in the shower, put ice on your head okay, I'm going to show you a second thing. I invented this called the migraine hat. And again, I don't know if they sell it anymore. It was years ago, but there are many of these things. Hats for migraine, ice cap, headache hat. So there's ice in it. You put it like this. Get one for your child, and I mean, this is the greatest thing. That's why I invented it. I put it on, it's ice. Some people really like compression. It makes them feel better, so you make it tight. I hate compression when I have a migraine, so I make it loose. But what I do is this already dulls it. Does it get rid of my migraine? Take a guess. No. But does it take the edge off? Definitely. I've gone to the gym with this in the summer. Nobody knows. I've gone to, you know, I've gone to dinner with this. I've gone to movies Netflix, because I've had these for 36 years. Um, and sometimes when I'm really bad, I put this on with my sunglasses and my earplugs. Okay. And yes, I don't care how I look. Now, your kids probably will care how they look, but when they're with you and nobody's around, that has to make them feel somewhat better. So anyway, you get in the shower, you put a shower cap on top of this on your child. You put the heat, coming down on his or her shoulders, which relaxes while this dulls. Some people sit in front of a TV or whatever it is that they do, and they put their feet in hot water and they put their head in ice. So that's something that's very worthwhile. Okay, next. Peppermint tea, peppermint in general, essential oils, jasmine. Okay, a lot of people say these things help them. I'm an ice person, so I like iced tea. And I said this the other day that I was at the gym last week, and I never thought about why I always go to the fourth sink when I wash my hands right before I leave. And I realized that they have a pump soap, and it's peppermint. And I always wash my hands, and then I go like this on my face because it makes a person with migraine feel better. And unless you're alert, you don't notice that. Okay, let's see what Heather says. Hi, Heather. As someone living with migraine, it's hard to watch all three of my children experience what I believe is migraine. As they grow, they don't want to hear it. Great tips hearing you. I'm really glad. First of all, I don't want to make you feel not so guilty. I want to make you not feel guilty. There's like zero to feel guilty about. The fact that you think they have migraine, now maybe try to get a diagnosis. Once you do, come on, you're already way ahead of anyone parenting someone with migraine, okay? And then buy these things. You have 3 kids, so you can have one magic migraine box, and you can help them. They may grow out of them. They may have fewer as they get older, or they may continue to have them. And if they do, like me and many of the people watching this, they will know how to manage them, because as your kids get older, I now have adult children. They know how to deal with their stuff, and everybody has something, right? Maybe it's not migraine. Maybe it's anxiety. Maybe it's, I don't know, there's so many things, right, that kids have. They learn more and more how to deal with it, especially if you advocate for them and you teach them the words. Especially, yes, they don't want to hear about it as teenagers and college kids, but I promise you at some point they will. At some point they'll come back and they will. And if you keep saying it, that rule where when you have little children, you keep offering them the same food like 17 times, and then at that point they'll eat it. It's like that. It's not your job to be liked. It's your job to keep offering solutions. Okay? This thing I found the other day, it's called Allay, Allay, and it's a lamp. And let's see, it's green light. Let me see. I didn't charge it, but I want to show you something. You can go on, it's expensive, but you get the first 40 days for free. So anyway, I'm so mad I didn't charge it. Okay, anyway, it turns green. And there's studies that have been done that for people who are photosensitive, which is everyone with migraine, green is the part of light that's the most comfortable. So if you put this in your child's room and there's no screens, which I know is almost impossible, before they go to bed, you talk to them, especially if they're little, you can manage that. You can even leave it on all night. Many people have said that it makes them feel better. So there's something really unique. So that's in terms of like devices and things. There's a lot of sort of interesting devices. There's something called a cephaly that goes on like a headband, and it sort of is buzzing, and a lot of people it helps. Always have earplugs for your children, okay, who have migraine. Okay, this thing, a lot of you kids play sports. Um, I have been outside watching many sports when my kids were younger. So this thing is like a gator, but it also you squeeze it or put in your freezer, and then your child can again, like they're not going to want to wear this in front of everyone else. But when they're little, you can make them, and when they're older and they're not sitting with everyone else, they will wear it, or if they're in pain enough, they will wear it. So they can do this, they can do this, they can put it on as a gaiter. I wear this thing. So again, like coldness is really helpful. All right, these things are like, I found them online. They're like, you've heard of jade rollers and rose quartz things. Okay, like they're made in these weird shapes because we all get migraine in different places. I get in my eye. So I put these in the freezer and I just stick it on my eye when I'm talking to somebody and I want to bring it down. I mean, and then there's my favorite hack, which I discovered. I take full responsibility for only this one. You can take a can of anything. I like the really little cans, they make them now. And, you leave them in your refrigerator. And then or when you're on the run, you go into like a deli. And if your child has it on his eye or up here, it's like a great ice pack, that you can use. I put it here and I switch it off with the other ones. And so that's how I'm able to watch TV when I have a migraine. Here's another thing I would leave in your car. Just a little fan I got on Amazon. And it makes a huge difference when your child's trigger is heat. All right, what else do you guys have to ask me? Ginger. You might want to put ginger in your migraine bag, or I put peanut butter. Some people, something to eat, because not eating can cause a migraine. What else do I have in here for you guys? This thing, actually a doctor told me about. He said his patient told him it was good. It's called Lipogesic. Okay, and it's something, I think you put it on your lips and makes people, it didn't work for me, but it might work for you. Okay, and then I don't know if you guys know about, nutraceuticals. So non-drugs, vitamins, minerals, things like that. Different ones have been shown to help some people. There's magnesium, there's B12, there's feverfew. There are quite a few of them. And so, just Google it. Go on AmericanMigraineFoundation.org, because they have so many useful and it's real information. From what I understand, they don't take money from pharma companies or anything like that. They're very, very legitimate. And again, I use them as my library. If I want to know something, you know how doctors say don't just Google it and get it off the internet? Like, it depends where you're getting the information from. I would go straight to the source, right? So let's see what else. What other questions do you have? All right, let's talk about your expectations. You are a parent. You want to help your kid get rid of his migraine, right? Not just make it a little better, all right? But here's the thing. The goal is to incrementally try to improve. And as I said earlier, what's really important is to first get a diagnosis, because it might not be migraine. The second thing, and here's another thing. You should keep a diary, a migraine diary for your child. There are different apps. I think Migraine Pal is one of the ones a lot of people like. I don't remember the other ones. Again, none of these I'm hawking. These are just things I've heard. I'm just here as another migraine patient who might just know a little bit more, have a little more information than you do from being around so long and having 9,000 migraines. But anyway, keeping a diary is really important. The woman who said you have 3 kids who you think have migraine, keep one for each one. When do you see, what time of day? Did they just eat something? What is it? I think a really good example is things that they don't even say. Like, I think the perfect example is your child plays very quietly, but in a dark room all the time in the middle of the day. That might be worth writing in there. And then when you see the doctor, you have more information. It's not just anecdotal. So I think it's really helpful. And then once you have learned a lot, you've been keeping track, you definitely have a diagnosis, so you know that that's what your child has. Then, like I said, in summary, you start looking at resources for school so your child can learn in school, and the school will change, and they will if you get a 504. And even if you can't get a 504, or you don't want to get a 504, I'm not sure why, but you might not want to. um, People are reasonable. They just don't know. They need to be educated. And that's why I'm here. I spend so much time educating people about migraine because I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they don't understand it. Because haven't all of you who have migraine had somebody say to you, "Oh my God, I had a migraine this weekend, a really bad headache. Now I understand. I can't imagine. I've had one in my life. I can't imagine you live with these." Right? It's just because they didn't know. And in all fairness to them, let's say they have bipolar disorder and you don't, and you think you understand it. You can't until you step in somebody else's shoes. And the only way, the closest way you can do that is by educating people. Okay? And one of the things that is on the American Migraine Foundation.org and migraineatschool.org are, why should you invent the wheel? There are forms there that you can give to the people at school. There are template forms for your doctor to fill out for your child that says, "This child has migraine. Please do the following things. I am available should you want to talk." Right? I mean, all these things did not exist even 5 or 6 years ago. I'm telling you, I was creating them myself for people. So, there are organizations on there that you can contact. There are parent groups. Hi, Shayna. There are, oh my gosh, so many resources that you have at your disposal that you don't even have to start with. So, inventing yourself. Now, when do you do this? You're a busy parent. You work. You have multiple kids. You have your own medical issues. Maybe you're taking care of an adult parent. Maybe, you're having financial issues. Maybe you're in another country. I work with a lot of kids from Afghanistan. Maybe you're in a place where there are issues of, primary issues. How do you do this? Well, one of the things that has worked for me that I've told a lot of people about, that a lot of people seem to like, might not work for you, is every month I make a 2-hour block on my calendar, like the 13th of every month. Okay? I find a time, even if I'm busy, even, 11 o'clock at night, I don't really care. And I call that my health time. And for those of you who have kids with migraine, you call it your Charlie's migraine time. And what I do is I take those full 2 hours. I don't look at my phone. I don't talk to anyone. I don't book anything at that time. I make it a priority. You know how they say make exercise a priority, or make whatever a priority. If you put on your calendar, it will be a priority. And what I do, you could do 1 hour. You can do 1 day a month. You can do once a quarter. That's not what's important. I put it on my calendar and I put it in a color. I put it in green, meaning like go for me. And then I spend the whole 2 hours working on, in this case, how can I help my child with migraine? And so the other days of the month, maybe I'm putting stuff online in a folder, or in a paper folder if I get paper stuff. I leave it all there until that 2 hours, because I'm ostensibly helping my child all the time anyway. I'm raising my child. But I can't do everything at once. I have many other competing things, right? I can't make it the only thing that I do. I'm a mom, and that's impossible. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your kids. We all know that, like on a plane, right? You put the oxygen on yourself first. So in those 2 hours, here are some things I might suggest you do. You go on the American Migraine Foundation.org website and you read the articles on children with migraine. Here's another thing. You Google headache center near me, or pediatric neurologist, or pediatric headache expert. Or that's maybe the day you go on Facebook or on Instagram, you type in the group, up in the, I know on Facebook, I'm not sure on Instagram, but there's a search bar where you found this Facebook Live, and you type in parents of children with migraine, teenagers with migraine, uh, caretakers for migraine, migraine parents. Um, two that I will really strongly suggest is American Migraine Foundation has a group called Move Against Migraine. Join that group. There's thousands of people in there asking questions all day long, and say, how many of you have children with migraine? What's your best piece of advice? You can do that during your 2 hours. The Daily Migraine, which I started, you can go on there. They also have thousands of people who will help crowdsource whatever questions you have, right? So you can go on online groups, and that really helps you. You're not alone. It's not like, and again, the guilt is useless. Now, I'm much older than many of you. Hopefully I don't look it, but I am. Okay? Like much. Like my kids are old. Okay? So I have been through everything, and maybe I'm at the point in my life where I'm not going to let other people dictate how I feel, that I am going to face the truth, and I am going to do it on my time in my way. And if you can take any of that away from this, that would be great. All right. So let me summarize my child with migraine top points. A, it's not your fault that your child has migraine at all. 0. Okay. You're the parent. And if you want to be a great parent, which we all do, then you're going to try to help your child through it. You're going to help your child manage it. But it's not your fault, and you may not be able to get rid of it entirely, but you may very well be able to help your child become very functional. And that's what's really important. And what a hero you would be if you could do that. I'm not saying you can, but you can try, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing is, need to get a diagnosis. Find a doctor, if you can, who can diagnose a child with migraine, and make sure that's what it is, right? It could be a lot of different things, or migraine could be a secondary component to something else. Once you know what something is, I've worked with kids all my life professionally. And what I find is, once they know what their quote thing is, and you know what their issue is, what their condition is, whatever it is, it's less overwhelming, because it's not all this stuff, it's just this, okay? And you can define it, and then you can work on it. Migraine at school, go to AmericanMigraineFoundation.org or migraineatschool.org, or any number of resources that will give you amazing, amazing advice and a template that you can just walk through on how to advocate for your child at school, so your child can learn without suffering, okay? Then, what about your child at home? Well, you can go back if you haven't seen it, but this is my magic migraine box, and there are many, many things you can stock up on from Amazon or anywhere else that are really cheap, that are just homeopathic or just little things to take the edge off, okay? And most of all, it's really important, if you have a child who's suffering, and we all know the pain of how that feels to us as a parent, you have to take care of yourself. No beating yourself up. It does nothing except make you more stressed out and make you less able to help your child. Certain conditions and things with our children are not quick fixes, okay? If I were to look back, I would tell my younger self as a young mom, it's gonna be okay. It's all gonna be okay. But you don't feel that when you're in the moment. But somehow you have to have the faith somewhere deep down that if you have it in your heart to try to help your child, and you cut out a little time to do that, and you take care of yourself and everything else in your world, including other people, That's the best you can do, and you can make a ton of headway for your child. So thank you for joining. We're going to be doing this again. We're trying to figure out the dates, but you can go on to AmericanMigraineFoundation.org and you can sign up for notifications of when we go live again. I hope this has helped you guys. I am thinking about you and your children, sending you the good vibes and hopefully good ideas. And everybody just be well. Okay? Thank you.